shit, I'm cropping out the product here, or like, I didn't have it right.
If I was a brand, I would want to be smarter about it because there's so much opportunity. So this is episode 2 of our mini-series about all the add-ons available on Clip. So today we're going to be breaking down the variations and ratios. 2 very crucial things. And as easy as it was with captions and music, because they're quite straightforward, I think towards variations and ratios, there's a little bit more technical things to remember. So today we're getting into how to prep ourselves before we get into the mindset of shooting with the add-ons in mind, but also our tips and tricks on how to make sure that everything is flawless, there's no feedback, there's no reshootings, and everyone's happy.
Yes.
So, should we start with the ratios? Ali, what do you do first when you see any other sort of type of ratio?
Yes, so for the ratios, the very first thing I'll look at is if it is a portrait, so if it's a 4:5 or if it's square, because if you are filming obviously in 9:16, which is the normal reel version, it technically it's the same video. It's easy to like manipulate that. However, if it's a square, I do think then you do need to be smarter when it comes to your overall recording. So one tip I would give to people here is when you're recording, I think all creators regardless should have this on their phone, but make sure in your camera you've got the grid lines turned on, and even it does no harm as well having the leveler so you can see. Not really relevant right now, but it's always just good to make sure content that's straight. But for the actual grids, when you're filming, that means you always want to make sure that you're in the center, and also too, there's space above and below, especially when it comes to square, because you don't want to film that and then it's zoomed in and you're like, shit, I'm cropping out the product here, or like, I didn't have it right. And even too, when you're recording, make sure you have the width at the side, because obviously when that's zoomed in, you're losing that width as well. And you don't want, I feel like a video isn't as professional looking, or even something feels wrong if it's very zoomed in and it's too close.
I think it's called the rule of thirds. Even if you are shooting in just 9:16, so the kind of vertical classic format, you should still have the focus in this little square in the middle, right? So there's 3 stripes and then 3 stripes going here. And then this is the little focus point. You'll always be safe when it comes to ratios if this is where your main focus is.
But then obviously too, the landscape. So Maria, I know there's a little bit more for brands now if you want to talk through it.
Yeah. So basically when you create a campaign on Clip, you have the main format that you want for the main video, and you have all these formats that we already talked about. And then the add-ons for if you want the square or a portrait or anything like that, obviously as a separate section. With the landscape, right, horizontal, please keep in mind that creators won't be able to change a vertical to horizontal. It's impossible. This is not going to happen.
And if it is done, it looks rubbish, then it's not worth your money.
If you want also a landscape, you will have to create a separate campaign and just do landscape, taking it out of the way for everyone. And we also mentioned in the product, if you're on the vertical and you want to select the landscape as well, it won't let you do it. So you would have to create another campaign.
When you're thinking about ratios and as add-ons, just think about it in the way that the creator is not going to be reshooting anything to make it fit into that one ratio add-on. So everything that is in your vertical video is going to be the same, but in a square, right? So, and from the creative side of things, obviously keep an eye for when you're zooming in all your individual clips. Just make sure that there's no black stripes on the sides, or there's no weird croppings that just feel odd to the eye. We cannot stress enough how much it takes away from your content in general.
And I think this goes without saying too, for some reason, I don't know why, but this does happen even on normal videos that don't have add-ons. Like, always double check that your levers are correct, because once again too, you don't want from a brand to come back that you love working with for them to be like, oh, love the video, but, and then the edit, because it's like nearly like a, it's a horrible feeling being like.
And there is a little tip in terms of your phone settings to make it a little bit more easier to see, because sometimes you won't be able to notice that black stripe because it will just look like a part of your screen. So I always have it on the day mode, always have it as the white background, and then it's going to be a little bit easier to detect. There's more kind of flexibility.
That is a great tip, so it is actually. And you can also, like, for that, you can add it like as your shortcuts that you just flick it on and off. Because side story, when I'm doing like analytics and stuff for clients, like I'll always take the screenshots in white mode because I always think it looks nicer. So I just flick it on and off, but I've never yet done it thinking about videos. So I'm going to start doing that. That's fantastic. Yeah.
See, we're all learning from
It's all
from
sharing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm learning the most, to be honest.
The next thing then, I think when it comes to the dimensions is obviously, once again, I think this goes back to why it's so important to always have that raw video and to have it initially, because even if you're then, personally how I do it, if I had a video that was square and they wanted captions for that too, what I do is I have my raw video, I will then resize the raw. I will not resize the video that has captions in it unless I'm certain it's going to look right.
Yeah.
It's risky and it might not fit. It's the fact you don't want for it to be like at the very bottom line of where that square hits. It just doesn't look right. So I personally will then add my captions into it, so then I might know that it looks right if it needs resized. But Nicola, what do you?
That's very interesting, because I actually do it the other way around. I find it easier to, so basically how I would do it is I would have my raw main video, and then I would duplicate it and then add captions there on that duplication. And then once I'm happy with that, then I'm going to duplicate it and change the ratio again.
Zoom it in.
Because I think, and it might not work for everyone, obviously we're all different and we're all work different ways. But I think with the captions, it's so easy because once you move one caption up, they all move up.
Yeah.
So I prefer to just have those captions done and ready, because especially if it is, again, like information heavy script, then I just... Personally, I cannot be bothered to going through this.
Well, no, but here, that's fair, but that's what I mean. Like, there is, then, no, I must start like that again, because I'll always duplicate it across, but I always then have added again and again, but...
If you're listening, the gods of CapCut, if you could just auto-select all the captions and copy them to another project.
Yeah,
please.
across.
That would just be so... The copying across projects would change
our elements lives. or even to remember a copy. So if you copy and then went in, because I think that even when it comes to like layover, like stickers and stuff, if it's for specific, I'm like, or I really like this text font, I'm like, I wish I could just copy into the next one, paste.
If your main video is transition heavy, it is going to be trickier for you to also stretch those.
Yeah.
So just to keep in mind that, again, less is more when it comes to transitions and to make it more powerful.
I had another one to add here too, is if you're duplicating and you're resizing, if you're doing, so you know in CapCut, there's the flags that come up that you can then zoom in. So you tag it, zoom it in. Once you resize, those once again too will need resize. Which is, I won't lie, I will do minimal. You'll notice the videos that if I have to do extra dimensions, there will be minimal of them, because they can be such a problem for missing that you've that black space around it, or it's zoomed out to black space or something.
We quite often forget about that little animation, the slow zoom. Just go for that, because the points of action can be tricky.
Brands think that, it's just a video, they just shoot a video. No, just the fact that when you change size of the size of the video is not just about, you just resize it and that's it, and you just like stop the captions. No.
But this is the irony, is you could do that, but it just won't look right.
Exactly. It's about that, and it's about the fact that our creators, most of them, they do this. And if they're not doing it yet, it's because they haven't listened to your feedback.
That's it. We really hope that all the creators who are listening to us are changing the ratios while they're editing. They're not just cropping the final exported video. We kind of take it for granted, but maybe it's worth mentioning that this is how we're doing it, and we're actually manipulating each scene to make sense.
Now, on to the variations, and I know there's a lot of different elements within this. So first of all, I think we should start by talking about, obviously, point blank, what is the actual definition on clip for what a variation is, Maria?
Yeah, so a variation is basically taking the main video that you already shoot for the brief and changing based on the preference of the brands, the beginning or the ending. We often tell this is for brands, we tell them, like, if you want to basically test in your ads a different hook or a different CTA, that's the main purpose for the variations, mainly. That's it. Because usually you find yourself trying to figure out the ad, and it might be the hook. Sometimes it can be the body, but we're not talking about this, because variation doesn't mean body, okay?
Yes.
So a variation is literally the first 5 seconds. It can go up to 5 seconds. That's the max. And either the first 5 seconds or the last 5 seconds of the video. So you technically create a second video, but with a different beginning or a different ending.
But sometimes brands will put in those variations, like, if they've given you a script for the main video, a full script for that second video. Now, the script may not be long, but it's certainly not a 5-second hook or a 5-second call to action. It is a full extra video. So for the likes of that happens, go back to them, because once again, they might not have realised there is signposting, but sometimes it does happen. Give the benefit of the doubt. This is actually what a variation should entail. This actually is another video. If you would like another video, just reach out to Clip. Get another, I'll get added to the campaign, rather than filming an extra video, because what that's doing is that's an extra video for a creator that you could have got paid to create.
Exactly.
Because a lot of the time I think sometimes these brands are thinking a variation is like a variation of the story or a variation of the angle. It's not a variation of that. It's a variation of the edit that you're having a different start and finish into it. So for brands, this is what it should be, and for creators, advocate.
We make it very clear on the platform when you create a campaign what is the variation. We tell them like, look, it's a different hook or a different CTA, right? And then the duration of each variation is up to 5 seconds. So
I cannot imagine doing a variation without communicating with the brand before. How are you supposed to know what the brand is expecting from this? I think it'll be very interesting to know from you girls as well what the variation actually should be. What do we change? If we're focusing on the hook first, Ali, how do you work that out?
For me, once again, I know we're now like buzzword, but the buzzword, communicate. If they're wanting to have different hooks, I want to make sure then that my script actually lines up with the hooks, because sometimes brands, they'll use the hook as like different call out to a different type of consumer. So for example, it could be a different problem solving call out, that it's like this angle, for example, focused on like children or like parents, but this angle or product also works for student, that we want to call out the initial start, but then the body needs to still connect and it needs to still flow correctly, because there's nothing worse, and it's happened to me a few times, I've got briefs sent to me that hooks sound great, but the body does not work with the other two hooks. It works with the first hook that they originally created with the body, but not the next two. So you want to make sure it works. So I will communicate first of all, and then within the hooks too, I want to know, like, is this the different angles? So if they're providing me with the hooks, great, I'll want to make sure it flows. If they're not providing me with the hooks and I'm coming up with them myself, I will always send across them for approval, because I want to make sure the angle that I'm using is correct, because that's how I will do a hook variation. Is in my mind, I will never create a hook that is the same hook but just different words, because I'm like, it's the same.
What's the point?
And I've seen that sometimes too, creators, that they'll put in a hook but it's just them saying the same thing in a different way, that I'm like, that's not a variation. For me, a variation would be it's a different angle, or it's, for example too, like we talk about when it comes to different hooks, like you've got your more controversial hook or you've got your more organic storytelling hook, because then the brand can test to see how it all works.
It's such a good point, because I didn't even think about it, because I was actually in my mind when you asked Nicola the question, I was like, yeah, of course, like there's two options. You can either say the same thing, wearing the same clothes, being in the same place in the room, or you can change the visual. But it's a mix of these things, right?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, because what brands are doing at the moment, so when they select the variation, we tell them, okay, what do you want to change? And you put your text here. So most of the brands, what they do, they just put a line of the other hook. But they never say that, oh, can you just, I don't know, shoot it in the bathroom or shoot it in outdoors or something like that. From my point of view, you have to wear the same outfit.
It has to fit with the video, but sometimes you could get away with different clothes, not depending how the video is filmed, because then it could be like, if you're using a product for days and then it's like you're trying to show that it's not just today filmed, it's like months and all.
Because you can't just wear like, I don't know, like in one hook you'll be like whatever t-shirt, like white t-shirt and not wearing makeup, and then in the other hook you're just like fully makeup on, like with your hair is super done, like in a dress that is like more like you're going to the restaurant rather than, you know, I think like the discrepancy is too much.
But on the other hand, it could be actually testing what visually works better.
I get what you mean, that you're saying like it can't, because then the rest of it won't flow. But this is what I mean. Say for example, it was like a dating video, just when you're saying there about like no makeup on and then going to a restaurant, and it could be like, I'm sick, I've got no plans this weekend, it's so annoying. But like my friend, she's literally just sent me this, and then boom, into I've been using this app, and then the other hook could be like, I'm so excited guys, I've just got this app, like I'm going out tonight, this is my hair, this is my makeup, I have to tell you about it. There's a different angle you could, but once again, it has to be done correctly, because if you do that it's disjointed, it screams ad and it's a swipe on.
And I think it's risky for creators that don't actually know how to maneuver this. To be honest.
100%. I think variations For me, if I was a starting up creator, that would be the most stressful add-on for me, because there's just so many ways that you can go around it.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can go very creative. You can feel, when sometimes the product speaks to you and you're like, oh my goodness, I have so many ideas. Then variations are perfect for it, right? To explore it. But then sometimes it can work the other way around, when it can just bring you down and you're there like, I have 0 ideas for this. And I think then obviously take an inspiration from what you see online. Obviously, when you're a UGC creator, you pay a little bit more attention to it. Sometimes you will be targeted with different hook versions of the same ad and you don't even realize, which means that they actually did a good job, right? Because it didn't feel disjointed, didn't feel like it's out of place. That's the idea that you need to keep in mind at all times. It still needs to follow a story. So as Ali said, if the brand wants a hook for moms with children and then for students, you probably won't be able to fully immerse that storyline throughout. So if I was a brand right now, I wouldn't focus solely on what audiences I want to target with specific hooks. It's more like what emotion or the problem I want to solve for different audiences.
Yeah, that I highlight across.
You don't necessarily say, I'm a mom of 3 and I can't deal with this. And then the other one is like, I'm so overwhelmed with my exams. It would be more like, I'm so stressed out.
It's nearly like with those target audiences, what's this, the 2 circles and the circle in the middle? It's like that middle bit, like what is the middle ground that connects. And you're so right, like with busy moms or uni students, it could be the fact they have no time, they're trying to study, they're trying to do something. Busy mom, they don't have time either. That's the linking point. Then you're just angling it slightly different to then be like, how can I make it different but not so different?
This is where the strategic mind comes to play. This is where you as a UGC creator needs to be a little bit of a strategist. Think about who is seeing this video, not just saying, oh, my knee hurts, and then saying, yesterday I had I hurt my knee. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to make any impact whatsoever.
I think too, from a brand's point of view, that obviously there's brands that are very used to UGC and they know their briefs, they know what they want. However, there's the other side that there's brands that are new to it, they don't really know what they want. And I personally think our jobs as creators, yes, technically we're paid actors, they have a brief, they tell us what they want to do, but it's also our responsibility to advise, considering our expertise of what we've done in the past, what we know work and doesn't work, that if a brand comes to me and they're like, the hooks are the exact same, I'm sure you're the exact same like that, I would feel guilty charging them for that extra hook when I'm like, that's not going to work for you, number one, and number two, it's a waste of your money. So instead I'll be like, actually look, this is another USP of yours, I think we could do this angle. And I nearly think it's good then because it builds that relationship that they'll want to come back.
Oh my goodness, 100%.
They don't just see you as like a copy paste creator that she'll do that, but I can get the exact same from someone else. How can you differentiate yourself? Like if I'm bringing value and I'm letting them see, look, I can spin 100 different ideas out of this one thing, they'll be like, great, go back to her, keep going back to her, and then win-win.
But also, even on a deeper business level, if the ad with different hooks doesn't bring results, it's your fault in their eyes. It's not their brief, it's not the script, it's you as a UGC creator.
And I think the product is not the landing page.
And I think sometimes too, creators, especially if you're new, you're nearly that excited to get work or to get, do you know what I mean, your first collab, that you're nearly scared to push back a wee bit. But I think as you do get more comfortable, you do start to know and you can advise more. Don't know if you agree or disagree. If you're a new brand, you should be trying all the different types of content and angles to see what lands. Once you've found that, it's like foundations, because I think a lot of the time brands want to go from 0 to 100 and start at that 100 mark. But this is what I think works. We're only doing this style of content. Whereas I'm like, how do you know that content works? Have you tried these other ones to see? Okay, let's try those other ones. Let's get a few different hook variations. Okay, do they work? Do they not? Right, next time let's hone in again and again. Because I feel like it's all I ever tell people. I'm like, you need to test. You have to test because you don't know until you try all these different things.
And the variations are literally the perfect way for the brands to do that.
Oh yeah, it's a cheaper way of getting more for your video
from your content.
And more, and you're getting to actually see real results from it.
Variations are also amazing. Like if I was creating a video now for, I don't know, the long
Black Friday
weekend,
and stuff coming in.
Black Friday, for example. To make that content evergreen, from the brand's perspective, in your brief, don't make it about the Black Friday, make it about the product, but then make the hook about Black Friday.
Yeah.
So you've got, essentially, one evergreen video and one that you can run on the every occasion of the Black Friday. Or just change those variations as well. If I was a brand, I would want to be smarter about it because there's so much opportunity, but also from the creator's perspective as well. Even if we're not inspired, just still bringing that at least standard quality of the creativity, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
push it to the point where the brand feels like they actually are getting a variation. So then they do more of it in the future, if that makes sense.
I feel like specifically, so creating content, I've created content for years, but like specifically UGC, I'm now like 2.5 years in, would it be? That I would say that there's starting to be not a break, but there's starting to be a difference in creators that are new and jumping on board that are just doing that. And then there's the UGC creators that are a bit more seasoned that are starting to actually go into more the strategy side and able to help brands do that. And I think that's the difference too. As more people join and start becoming UGC creators, that will be the difference in the ones that will be able to sustain themselves for longer. And also too, at the end of the day, be able to make it more of a full-time income and be able to make it more of an actual career. Because yes, you can film amazing videos, but you need to have that extra element of like advising. We as creators, like we have ourselves, but also too, I will be the first to say it, like you should never just use one creator for all your stuff. And like I've had a few brands in the past too that I'm nearly the face of the brand. I'm like, you need other creators. It can't be my face because it gets boring. But even with that regard to it is then thinking like, okay, how can I help and how can I actually go on to provide more for brands too, that then they'll come back and they'll see me as someone that can actually help them and educate them to grow too within Briefs UGC as well.
It's actually a great point, and then that brings me to to creators that are reaching out and they're asking, oh, why don't I get accepted to collaborations? You don't have really a strategy anymore. Like it's so competitive now that you have to step up your game so bad.
YouTube in the early days, or Instagram on the early days where we actually just posted pictures, it's those people that were first in done well, but they can no longer do well if they started account today and done the same thing. Like to an element, it is really your strategy too as a creator of like to market yourself for people to want to work with you, that you need to have like different things and you need to go that little bit deeper to get yourself out there. I think that's a really good like point that you're saying, Maria, because I do understand creators getting frustrated, and like in our lives too, creators beside us that they are. And like it's completely valid, and I feel for them because there is nothing worse that you feel like you're trying and you're not getting somewhere. But yeah, it's coming back to those things as well.
I think we've really gotten into those add-ons.
I think that sums up this episode with variations, with add-ons actually, because it was just a little series of add-ons. And I just want to mention again, just make sure that you communicate with the brand about all these add-ons. It doesn't matter if they already put the information in there, just make sure that you're on the same page. So there's no like unnecessary edits, re-edits and reshootings and so on. If you have any questions, just drop them in our YouTube channel. Why not? Spotify, any like social media platform, of course. Reach out to us over email, hello@useclip.com. And of course, if you have any other topics that you want us to discuss over here, let us know. We're more than happy to do so. Otherwise, we will see you on our next episode, and in our lives, of course, because we do them once every 2 weeks. So either way, we'll see you next time, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.